Mr. President, just a few points I'd like to raise. I fully support our chairperson and the difficult decisions he had to make. So I will just throw in my greetings for the chairman's hard work. I know very well that he defended to the best of his ability until the last minute some amendments that we would have wanted to be seen, especially in the education sector, along with our chairman of the Committee on Basic Education. This really would be the budget that we would have wanted to be included to ensure, well, not ensure, but to support our goal of improving the education system, Mr. President. Won't go into details, but I know for a fact that our chairman worked really hard to try to secure that budget. And now just a few quick reactions, Mr. President. Maybe at a later time when I get to see the final version in all its details, of course we are happy that there is a provision in the GAA every year now on sustainable development being incorporated in every project that is funded. But as they say, the devil is in the details. And one of the devils that we see now is precisely in the area that our colleague, Senator Grace Poe, pointed out. Transportation has a very big potential in changing lives from unsustainable modes of transportation to sustainable. And the modernization that Her Honor Senator Grace is pointing out is an extremely important component in our journey towards sustainability, Mr. President. I don't have to show videos para ma-envision nyo po ang tambutsong itim na naglalabas ng usok na itim sa mga kalye natin. I don't need to show you the numbers because many of you in the hall and our staff and those watching have children who suffer from pulmonary conditions which are caused by unsafe environmental standards, particularly the lack of clean air. So lahat ito affected by this modernization program, and unless we really have the political will to ensure that the budget necessary to help the jeepney drivers transition to more modern and sustainable models, ito po yung, and I'd like to put on record that this is not simply shifting to an e-vehicle type. Time and again, pag lumalabas itong topic ng e-jeeps, I always say, preserve Filipino culture. Paggawaan nyo yan dun sa mga jeepney operators and manufacturers na matatagal na dito sa Pilipinas. There are industries that are dying or have died because slowly namatay ang jeepney industry. And it is natural for this, parang natural selection din yan in the industry sector. Parang survival of the fittest din yan. Kung hindi magaganda ang model, kung mas efficient ang train, then so be it. Mabubuhay ang train, mamamatay ang jeep. Pero kung bubuhayin din lang natin ang mga jeepney, then it might as well be not by importing jeeps, but by supporting the local industry and then preserving, and we have with us artists, no, our professionals from the creative industry who will attest that, well, their lives are all about bringing color and meaning and enhancing the experience of being a Filipino and welcoming foreigners to our country in every aspect of life. It could be watching a show where they're performing, or it could be riding a jeepney and seeing the colorful history of the Philippines drawn on the actual jeep. And then makikita ko ngayon, wala na, ano na lang, stainless steel. And then worse, mag-i-import tayo ng vehicles na wala na, hindi na nga made in the Philippines, wala pang input ng ating mga creatives, the way we grew up with the jeepney. So I just want to fully support the manifestation and concern of Senator Poe as one of the examples that I am fighting for sustainability in the country. I also just want to point out that this is very much the modernization program is very much a part of and will contribute to SDG 11, which is Sustainable Cities and Communities. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. Yes, Senator Grace po.
Yes, I would just like to thank our senator from Taguig and Pateros for her support on my manifestation. Since we have members of the creative industry here, and she mentioned about our traditional jeepneys, pag sinabi naman modernization, it's more on the function and the mechanization of the jeep, how it's actually runs, that there's zero emission or lower emission. Hindi naman kailangan palitan ng body, di ba? Well, they're saying because it's difficult to go in, hindi ka daw makatayo sa loob. But, you know, I think part of it is also our culture, the design of the jeep. They could probably change a few things, but ngayon yung mga kapalit, wala man lang personality. Pero sige, para unahin na muna natin syempre yung kapakanan ng mga drivers. There are a lot of other concerns, but definitely our culture should be preserved. And art also, art is really an important part of our daily lives, di ba? It enriches our experience, and it also strengthens our identity. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And just for the record also, Thailand still uses tuk-tuks. And everybody in the world knows what a tuk-tuk is from Thailand. So it's a cultural identity that they still preserve to this day. Yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, before we leave the topic, Mr. President, I would just like to put into the records of the Chamber my full support and agreement with Senators Poe and Cayetano. I am from Bulacan, Mr. President. We are very sentimental when it comes to our heritage, Mr. President, and indeed, we have to take good care of it. But today, Mr. President, the man of the hour is our chairperson who worked very hard, Senator Sani Angara, and we'd like to commend the hardworking chairperson of the Senate Committee on Finance for his hard work in ensuring that the budget, Mr. President, I think is very important. We were able to pass the budget on time, Mr. President. On time po tayo. And I'm a living testimony of how our chairperson, Senator Angara, worked very hard, Mr. President, because he is my basketball buddy. I couldn't exercise for the past 2 weeks, Mr. President. We especially would like to thank him for making sure that our budget, Mr. President, continues to reflect our aspirations in the coming year. Particularly, Mr. President, the budget of agriculture is meant to boost domestic production and harness the potential of our agricultural sector for the economic development. If you look at the budget of the education sector, all education agencies from TESDA, DepEd, and CHED are increased, including the PGH and other medical SUCs, our medical state universities and colleges, which this representation and Senator Pia had been working on. Mr. President, almost 30 billion yung increase po niyan. Consistent with the intergenerational principle enshrined in the Constitution, the budget of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources reflect our focus to address climate change and protect our biodiversity, which is very close to the heart of our Senate President Pro Tem, Senator Lauren Legarda, and to ensure that our healthcare system will not suffer the same stress as what we have experienced in the height of COVID-19 pandemic. The budget for DOH was increased to fund additional facilities and provide additional assistance to indigent patients. 2.5 billion pesos po yung increase niyan, Mr. President. And to further boost domestic production and make Philippine products world-class, the budget of DTI was increased by about 686 million, Mr. President. In-increase din po yung funding of various important programs such as Tatak Pinoy Act, the Creative Industries Law, among others, Mr. President. But last but not the least, Mr. President, I'd like to stress and put into the records of this chamber our sincerest thanks to our chairperson and the Senate panel for ensuring that our landmark legislation such as Tulong Trabaho Law, Trabaho para sa Bayan Law, will be fully implemented next year. So muli, Mr. President, congratulations to our sponsor and the Senate panel. Thank you to you, Mr. President, our Senate President Mig Subiri, and may God bless the entire Senate. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you very much, Majority Leader. Our sentiments exactly. Thank you to the sponsor, Senator Angara, as I mentioned, for his hard work and dedication. and also fighting for the interest of the Senate in the Bicameral Conference Committee.